We'll go to the gentleman from North Carolina. Mr. Nickel is recognized for 5 minutes.
Thanks so much, Secretary Yellen, for being here today. I was very glad to hear you commit to Congressman Hill that you'll continue to work with Congress to create a regulatory structure for digital assets, and that you hope it'll reach a quote-unquote good conclusion. I think it's especially important that we continue to work on this issue in a bipartisan way. This Congress, we're on track to be one of the least productive in our nation's history, but this is a place where we've had good bipartisan agreement, and I hope you will continue to make it a priority for this administration. I also want to talk about your role as chair of FSOC and want to echo Congressman Flood's concerns with the concentration risk in the market for crypto custody due to the SEC's misguided SAB 121, which makes crypto less safe for consumers. We have the best banks in the world. They ought to be able to take care of this custodial banking piece, but I appreciate your attention to these important issues. And I certainly want to applaud you and your agency's important leadership on the global stage, seeking to forward American interests, repair alliances, and isolate dictators. First question is about Russian oil. In April, I joined a bipartisan fact-finding mission to Ukraine to show our support in their war against Putin's aggression and unprovoked attack on their country. After I met with President Zelensky, it was clear to me that we need to do as much as we can to prevent Russia from fueling the war with profits from their oil exports. If we fail, we hand over Ukraine to Russia, and we know that an emboldened Putin will continue on to Eastern Europe. The U.S.-led oil price cap has reduced Russian export earnings significantly, but there's a lot more to do. On the whole, we're seeing countries comply with the price cap restrictions, but China, India, and Russia have access to limited non-G7 shipping and insurance services, which don't have to comply with the cap. Secretary Yellen, what is the strategy to address the price cap circumvention, and how do you propose that we hold these countries and entities accountable?
Well, so as you said, at first we had a very big impact on Russian revenues, and then to circumvent the price cap, they invested very heavily in a shadow fleet of vessels and insurance coverage so they would free themselves of dependence on Western services, including shipping. Now that's expensive, and they have really diverted a lot of resources from other uses in order to build that fleet. Then we took the step this past year of sanctioning some of the ships, the SOVCOM float ships that are involved in this trade. And that appeared to be effective in widening the discount that they received on Russian oil. And we continue to look at expanding those sanctions. Now, our goals from the outset with respect to the price cap were twofold, that we want to reduce Russian revenues or alternatively raise their costs of selling oil. And also we want to keep the market well supplied. And so as we contemplate additional sanctions, we really also look at what impact do we think that our actions could have on the global oil market. If our sanctions raised global oil prices significantly, that would be a negative not only to American drivers, but also to countries around the world that are dependent on foreign oil. And so we want to be careful about doing it, but we continue to look at additional sanctions.
Thanks so much. As the world looks for alternatives to Russian and Iranian oil, nuclear energy must play a role. Governments around the world are shifting policies toward nuclear power as clean and a reliable source of 24/7 electricity. I'm very glad the administration has rallied the world and secured pledges from 22 countries to triple their nuclear energy capacity by 2050. Unfortunately, Russia and China continue to dominate the global nuclear market. Meanwhile, U.S. companies are competing against foreign governments without meaningful support from the federal government. When countries in key strategic areas around the world need civil nuclear energy, I don't want them to rely on Russia and China what should Congress be doing to assist the administration in deploying nuclear energy around the world?
I mean, all I can really say here is that Treasury is supportive of using all available technologies, including nuclear. I mean, our role is with the multilateral development banks. They, with the exception of the EBRD, don't touch nuclear, and we have been supportive of having them review their policies in this area.
My time has expired.
Gentleman's time has expired. With that, we go to the gentleman from Michigan.